It's going to be loud enough.
Hi, Loretta.
Hi. All right. Now I've got to make sure we can hear. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Okay. Let me put the volume. What's the volume? All right. I don't know how to connect it, but my IT's here. All right. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, can we see you? Oh, yep, so you're up the corner, so you've got your PowerPoint slides. All right, yeah. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Perfect. Right.
You need a speaker, though. 1 second. Thank you.
Try now.
Okay.
All good?
Yes, excellent.
Oh, hey. Hello, everyone. Hello. I can't see you all, but I hope you're all having a great time. I'm sure you are. Have a cocktail for me while you're there. So welcome to this session on human design. So I don't know how many of you know what human design is or if you've come across it before, but let's dive in. So, and if you have any questions, you can just channel them through Loretta and then we can answer them at the end for you, no problem. So if everyone can see my screen, then we'll begin. Okay, so welcome to Human Design. And just to give you a little bit of background about me, so why should you be listening to me? Why, as Loretta kindly invited me here to talk to all you beautiful people. My name's Becca Francis. I'm a human design coach and certified reader. So human design helped me finally embody who I really am and what I came here to do. And I'm nearly 50, and it's the first time in 50 years that I've started to feel that I know who I am and I know what I'm on this earth to do. So that's why I love human design, and that's the kind of gift I want to share with you guys today. So what do? As I say, I'm a reader, I'm a coach, and I coach other women to embrace their authentic selves through their human design. So whether that be for business or finding an aligned career or kind of general life purpose, I coach women through finding that through the power of their design. So that's a little bit about me and why I'm here talking to you. So what is human design? It's also known as the science of differentiation. And human design was channeled to Ra Uru Hu in a days-long meditation session in Ibiza in January 1987. So this meditation session lasted for 7 or 8 days, and he didn't come out of meditation in all that time. So during the meditation, Ra was told that human design was going to be vital to helping the collective on the planet to make consciousness shifts for the evolution of mankind. So quite a hefty meditation. So Ra downloaded the human design system, and since then other people have received more information about it. But at its most basic, it combines several modalities. So the Kabbalah, the I Ching, astrology, the chakra system, and you'll see the chakra system as we start to go through the body graph, and I'll show you those centers. And in the deeper levels of human design, so manifestation and abundance, we look at things like quantum physics, genetics, and biochemistry in those deeper layers. But today we're just going to talk about the subject and about what it can actually do for you on a practical level, because I'm all about these sessions being practical. So rather than you just kind of walking away with, oh, that was a nice quick chat about human design, I want to give you some real tools or real insights into what tools you can use in human design that will benefit you. So what does our chart do? Our human design chart shows us how our own unique individual energy works. And when we know how it works, we can live in alignment with our design. And it also shows us how energy moves through the collective and what role each of us is designed to play within the collective. So it's all about energy at its most basic level. So us understanding our energy and then how we move that energy through the collective to further the collective. So that's kind of a brief overview of what human design is. So why am I here talking to you? You know, why did Loretta think it was a gift for you guys to get to know about human design and for you to get to know what your human design actually is? So there's three main areas where I think it's really beneficial. The first of those is for you to get to understand your goals and your desires and to own those desires. A lot of times, particularly as women, it can be difficult for us to voice our desires. It can be difficult for us to voice our goals. So human design really gives us a vehicle for doing that and gives us a way to express those desires and express those goals. So when you know how your energy is designed, it means we can channel it powerfully. And when we channel our innate energy and gifts powerfully, we become magnetic to our goals and desires. They flow to us because that's what most of us are designed to have happen to us. We're designed to have our desires flow to us rather than going out and pushing and making things happen. It's better for us to learn, or more aligned for us to learn, how our energy works, so our desires are magnetized to us. The second way that I think it's really useful is for you to get to know your authentic self, so who you actually are underneath all those layers of conditioning. There are lots of different types of conditioning in human design, but there's 5 main types, and depending on how your design is put together, they can affect you differently. So once you start to understand that conditioning and how it affects you, you can really start to understand deeply who you actually are and how you're actually designed to operate in the world. And that's, for me, when I could step in and embody my true self. Once I met myself and I knew exactly how I was designed to work, that's when I could really kind of embrace who I am and emerge as who I am. Now, I know some of this, when I first heard some of this, it sounds quite cliched, some of it, but I've lived it and it actually works. It actually does. It actually has helped me work out who I am and embody who I am. So that's why I believe in it so firmly. And the third thing I think it helps you do is find your alignment. So if we're looking for a new job, or if we're looking for a new career, or to start a new business, or really any situation in life, if we're in alignment and we're using our design to get into alignment, like I said, that's when things will flow to us, and that's when we become magnetic. So embodying your true self and who you are puts you in alignment with the work that you're here to do. And once you know what you're here to do and how you're here to do it, that not only benefits you, but you knowing that benefits the rest of us. So it benefits the collective around you. So I think that's why it's really life-changing, actually, to get to know your human design. Okay. So your human design chart. Now, the first time I looked at my chart, I shut the laptop and walked away because it was way too overwhelming. But once you start to peel back the layers, and once you start to get to know what the different bits and pieces mean, it actually reveals an awful lot about you. So if any of you after the session or at some point in the future want to go and generate your own human design chart, if you haven't done that yet, you can hop on jovianarchive.com and just pop in your exact birth details. So the birth date, the place as accurately as possible, and the time. So if you know your exact time of birth, that's really useful. If you don't, then I normally use midday as kind of an average. But if you can find out the exact time you were born, that really helps, because the exact time will affect some of these gates up here at the top of the graph. But if you don't, just put in an approximation or the nearest time. And then you can generate your human design chart. So this is me. So once you generate your chart, up pops this chart with all sorts of different things on it. But to cut through any confusion or overwhelm, today we're just going to go through the main points that you can identify so that you can just start to experiment living in your design. Because what Ra said is Human design is an experiment. It's not meant to be dogmatic. It's not meant to be dictatorial. It's offered to the collective as an experiment, a way that we can experiment with our energy and work out what's best for us and what's best for the collective. So I don't want you to feel it's a kind of 5-step process that you have to follow. It's really just a case of, if you're interested in exploring it, is downloading your chart and just finding out bit by bit a little bit more and a little bit more about the way you're designed. That's the way I came to it. Okay, so the basics in your chart, the 4 main things that you need to know. If you know nothing else, if you never know anything else about your human design chart, these are the things that will really benefit you. So the first thing is your type. There are 5 types in human design, which we'll go through in a moment. And how you become a type is based on the gates in your chart, so where the planets were positioned when you were born, and the channels and centers that are defined, so colored in, or undefined, white, in your chart. Now, to try and divide the human race into just 5 different types can seem quite general, quite generalized, but your type is just the first layer. And there's lots and lots of different layers underneath your type which give you your uniqueness. So your type it's not a personality type, it's your energy type. But once you get to know the other parts of your human design, that's when you kind of really get to know who you are. The second thing that you want to look at is the strategy. So the strategy, each different type has got a different strategy. And what the strategy gives us is the foundation of how we live in alignment. So how we interact with the world and with the collective in a way that is aligned for everyone. Because if something's good for me as an individual, then it must also be good for the collective. So your strategy helps you get in alignment and just work out how you move through the world and how you operate through the world in alignment with your design. And then we've got your authority. This is a really important part, particularly if you're looking at, like I said, looking for the right career, or starting a business, or moving across the country, or making some of those big decisions. Your authority will play a huge part in that, because our authority tells us how we're aligned, how we're designed to make aligned decisions. And you'll see a little bit more about the authority in a moment, but the authority is really kind of your board of directors of your energy centers, if you like. Who has the loudest opinion? Who knows the most about you? And that's what will help you make aligned decisions. So that's your authority in your chart. And then lastly, the last basic that I want to cover is your signature, or your non-self. So each type has its own signature and its own non-self. And your signature is, when you feel your signature, you know you're living in alignment. It's that feeling of, it can be satisfaction or success or surprise, depending on what your type is. That will be a kind of green flag and say, yeah, absolutely, this is good for you. You're absolutely aligned for this. Or your non-self will tell you if you're out of alignment. So if you're not putting your energy where is best for you and best for the collective, you'll start to feel your non-self. And again, it's a different non-self for different types. So that can be anything from frustration to bitterness to disappointment. And there are a couple of others as well, which we'll cover. But like I said, if you really know nothing else about your design, your type, your strategy, your authority, and your signature and non-self are really the things that I want you to kind of pick up on when you download that chart. Those are the basics. Okay, so our types. There are 5 types in human design, and the first of those is generators. And I'll probably put it first because I'm a generator. I say the first of those, but I'm probably a bit biased because I'm a generator. So generators in the human design chart have a defined sacral center down here. And that means when we find something that we love to do, we can do it for hours and hours and hours. And the pleasure of doing something that we love will recharge that sacral battery. And generators are designed to find one thing they love to do and to master it. and to teach it to the collective. And that's what I found with human design. That's my thing, is human design itself, which is why Loretta will have to stop me if I go over 30 minutes, because I could talk and talk and talk and talk about human design as a generator, because I love it. So anyway, off generators, the next type is manifesting generators. So manifesting generators, or mani-gens, are a hybrid between two types, the manifestors and the generators. And they have a defined sacral as well. So that defined sacral area means, again, once they find something they love to do, they can go and go and go for hours and hours and hours. And things like pleasure and joy and playfulness will recharge that sacral. Next, we have manifestors. So you can see manifestors don't have that defined sacral. They don't have the access to the same type of energy as the mani-gens and the generators, because they're designed to work differently. They're designed to receive divine downloads and then manifest those into reality and then move on to the next thing. So they're designed to create and be inspired and then create a team around that and then move on to the next thing. So they manifest things that push the collective forward. They're also known as the cutting edge of the collective, because they push us to do things that haven't been done before. So those are our manifestors. We then have our projectors, which are a non-energy type. You can see they don't have a defined sacral. The projectors of the world are the ones that see systems. They're the architects, they're the managers, they're the systems administrators. They're the ones that guide us and advise us and let us know that there's a better, more efficient way of doing things. Very often leaders will be projectors. For instance, Barack Obama is a projector. So those are our fourth type. And then we have our very rare reflectors. So reflectors don't have any defined centers at all. They're very rare. They're about 1 to 2% of the population. So for instance, Sandra Bullock is a reflector, and Teal Swan, she's a reflector as well. But they're hard to find, but when you do find them, don't let them go. They're fascinating beings, because they're here to reflect the health of the collective. They're here to reflect back to us what we're doing well and what is healthy for us and what environments are healthy and what's mentally healthy for us. So they create a community around them, but they're very rare. So yeah, if you come across a reflector, then don't let them go. They're very interesting types. Okay, so those are our 5 types. Like I said before, each type has a strategy. So the strategy lets us know how we move through the world, how we operate, how we use our energy to benefit us and to benefit the collective. So briefly, the strategies of each type are quite different. So for a generator, so for me, for example, my strategy is to wait to respond to something. So I'm not designed to go out and force things to happen. I'm designed to stay in alignment and respond to the things that appear in my reality, whether that be a business idea or a job offer or an invite out to lunch or an invite to go on a trip. Generators are waiting to respond. That's how the energy works best. And waiting to respond, again, Ra said wait. The word wait can be quite deceptive. It's not meant to be passive. Waiting is active. So you can generate situations that give you something to respond to. So often when I'm on my Insta stories, if I'm thinking of creating a new human design offering or a program, I'll go on my stories and put a poll on there. So, do you want the program to be on A or do you want it to be on B? And then depending on what the response is, the winner of the poll, then my sacral will respond to that and tell me where it's best for my energy to be directed. So that's the generator. Manifesting generator, because they're the hybrid of the 2 types, they do have that response. So they're waiting to respond like a generator would, but they also have the initiation power of our manifestors. So they are able to initiate and then respond, whereas the generators are waiting for the manifestors and the manifesting generators to give us something to respond to. So our manifestors, they're about 9 to 12% of the population. They're a little rarer than some of the other types. So their strategy, the way they stay in alignment, is to inform and initiate. So not only do they get these divine downloads and they initiate new ideas and they push the collective forward, part of their mission is to inform. And what that looks like is, if you are a manifestor, rather than just going off and starting this new idea and the people around you are kind of, whoa, what's happening? Why is this person acting like this? I don't understand what's going to happen next. The way the manifestor calms the energy around them and gains acceptance for those ideas is the informing piece. So they're not asking for permission, but they're letting the people around them or the people in their impact field know what's going to happen next. And that way they're less likely to meet resistance. So that's their strategy. And for our projectors, so projectors are around 20% of the population. Projectors are waiting for the invitation. So projectors have a lot of wisdom to share with us. They can see how things should be done. They can see how we can do things better. But if that advice or that energy is pushed in a direction that where it hasn't been invited, then it can be resisted, it can be pushed back. So it's always important for the projector to wait for the invitation, because those are the people that need to hear their message. That's how they know that their message and their energy are reaching the right people. And then our reflectors, their strategy, because they're lunar types, is to wait a lunar cycle to make big decisions. For smaller decisions, it's not quite, they don't have to wait quite as long, but the strategy is to wait a lunar cycle to make those big decisions, so that they can see how that decision feels in each phase of the moon. So that's their strategy for a reflector. And when you download your chart, you'll see your strategy up here. So you can see that's mine up there. So to respond. And briefly, authorities. So these authorities are how we are designed to make decisions, to make sure that we're putting our energy in the right place. So your authorities up here. So again, if you download your chart, this is where you're looking for your authority. And I am an emotional authority. So it's my solar plexus down here that helps me make decisions. So when I'm responding to something and I'm making a decision on something, I'm designed to ride my emotional wave to reach clarity. So rather than making a decision in the moment, I ride that wave and then I reach a decision. Another type of authority can be a sacral authority. And if you have a sacral authority, that's very instant, that's very in the now. Your sacral will let you know what's right now, and then it'll take a sample again at a time in the future and let you know if it's still right for you. So it's very instantaneous and very in the moment. There is only clarity in the now, they say, for sacral types. You can also have a splenic authority, so that's your spleen. So that's your intuition. So if you have a splenic authority, it speaks quietly and it only tends to speak once. So people with splenic authorities tend to have to be in quieter environments so they can feel what that authority is telling them. You could have an ego authority, which is the heart center here. You can have a self authority in the G center. You can have a mental authority or a lunar authority for those reflectors. So authority is quite a deeper layer of design if you want to get into it. But your authority will tell you how you're best designed to make aligned decisions. And finally, the signature or the non-self. So these charts give us, they don't give us a signature, but they give us the not self theme of frustration up here, because again, this is me. So generator, if I'm in alignment and I'm putting my energy in the area where it's supposed to go, then I will feel that feeling of satisfaction. And for me, that means a feeling of fullness and a feeling of contentment and a feeling of completeness. That's how I know I'm in alignment. And if I'm putting my energy somewhere where it shouldn't be, or if I'm working in a job that's draining me, or I'm even, in a hobby that's draining me, or in a relationship that's draining me, that feeling of frustration, the non-self, will come into it. So when you're considering new jobs, new careers, businesses, things like that, your signature and your non-self will tell you a lot about where you're supposed to be and where you're going to be happiest and most in alignment. So our manifesting generators, because they're a hybrid type, they have the signature and non-self of both the generators and the manifestors. So their signature, the generator part of them, will feel satisfaction. And the manifesting generator, not self, is anger. So they'll feel angry and frustrated. That's the manifestor side of them. But if they are in alignment as a manifesting generator, they will be feeling satisfaction and peace. So satisfaction and peace is their signature, and frustration and anger is the non-self. So the manifestor, if they've informed everybody around them and calmed their impact field and the energy is nice and calm and people know what to expect from them, the manifestor will feel peace. And if they don't, if they feel resistance, if they're told they're crazy, the worst thing you can say to a manifestor is, that's a crazy idea. You're crazy. Why are you thinking that? That's when that non-self of anger can show itself. And for the projector, their signature is success. So if they've been invited to give that advice, they've been invited to show us a better way of doing things, and it works, that's when they feel successful. But if they move too quickly and they're giving their advice to people that aren't ready to hear it, or it's not the right people, so they haven't been invited, that's when their non-self of bitterness can show up, because they haven't been listened to. And it's kind of I know this will work. Why aren't they listening to me? So that's the bitterness side of it. And for our reflectors, our rare reflectors, their signature is surprise. So everything's working well in the collective. We're healthy. We're in healthy environments. We're healthy mentally. We're healthy physically and spiritually. It's a beautiful surprise for them that it's all worked out. And that's what they feel when they're in alignment. And conversely, they feel disappointment. Their non-self is disappointment that the collective isn't reaching the goals that the reflector knows it can, and isn't reaching the levels that the reflector knows it can. So that's where that disappointment comes in for them. So yeah, if you're downloading your chart, just have a look at your non-self theme here, and then you can drop me a DM, or you can Google what the satisfaction is, what the signature is for your type. Okay, so how do we practically use this? How do we embody our true selves? How do we use our design to really step into who we are? So the first thing that will let us kind of unlock our authentic selves is our defined and our undefined energy centers. So our defined centers in the body graph are where they're colored in, and everybody has a different combination. So your defined centers are the gifts that you're here to give to the collective. They're your natural power. The undefined energy centers, or the white centers in your graph, are where you're here to gain wisdom, and where you're here to be very intuitive and empathic about what's going on around you, so you can kind of soak up what they're doing right, what people are doing wrong, and gain wisdom in that area. So your defined areas are your energetic powers, and your undefined areas are your intuitive gifts. You can start to meet your authentic self by being awareness of the conditioning that you're experiencing and how to shift it. Very often we kind of soak up conditioning, or our open centers or our undefined centers are vulnerable to conditioning. So those are the first areas to have a look at and work out, why am I thinking what I'm thinking? Is it because I'm conditioned in this area? And that's what we do a lot of work around in coaching with human design, is having a look at the conditioning and how that plays into the stories that we tell ourselves, and how to flip those stories. So your unique combination of how your centers work together, your defined and undefined, lets us know how you're going to bring your gifts to the collective and how you're going to increase your wisdom. So are you going to be somebody that uses willpower to get things done? Yes, you are. If you've got a defined ego center, If you have an undefined ego center, that's not going to be a gift you bring to the collective. So we'll look at other areas. What are your natural gifts? So when you understand the details of your design, for me, that's when my authentic self emerged. And once my authentic self emerged, I could look at it and go, okay, this is my authentic self in my human design. What about my life purpose? What about the role I play in my life? How do I find out what that is? How do I align with that? So the next thing to look at is your incarnation cross. And this is a deeper layer of human design, one that's not immediately obvious in your chart, but one that if you have a little bit of guidance, it's quite easy to work out. So your incarnation cross. So this is the story of your life. So what are you here to achieve? What's going to be the theme of your life? I did a reading for somebody the other day, and all 4 gates in her incarnation cross were self-love. They all talked about self-love, love of the body, love of the self. So her purpose, what she's here to do, is teach us about love and loving the self. So our incarnation cross is the story, our storyline. What are we designed to live? What's our story? When we look back on our life, what were we here to do? What was our story? So it's not an inevitable fate I've written here. You can choose not to live that. It's not something that you're forced to do. But because it comprises 4 of the gates in our chart, or 4 of the planetary positions, most of the time we can't help but express that, because our incarnation cross is what comes naturally to us. And the third way we can look at aligning ourselves with what we're here to do and how we're here to do it is to look at the profile in our chart. So the profile talks about our life purpose. So based on the position of the unconscious and the conscious sun in your body graph will give us a profile. And there are 12 different profiles. So your profile is the role you see yourself as and the role that others see you as. So for instance, my profile is a 6-2, and a 6 is a role model. So I see myself as a role model, and the 2 is a hermit. So others see me as somebody that is naturally good at things, but somebody that doesn't need to be surrounded by a lot of people. So your profile gives you a huge insight into what your purpose is, or your role, and how you're here to play your role. So relaxing into your innate profile is a breath of fresh air. It was for me, because I recognized myself and I recognized how other people saw me. And it actually let me step into that role model kind of role, rather than thinking that's what I should be doing or feeling like that's what I should be doing. I knew, yes, that's what I'm here to do. It can actually feel nurturing to the physical body and bring you a sense of vibrancy once you align with your profile and you know your profile, and you also work on any conditioning around it, because there's 2 gates involved in that profile. It's your conscious and your unconscious sun. For instance, the conscious sun makes up about 70% of your profile. So you can see it has a big, getting to know the gates in those areas has a big effect on getting to know you and who you are. So in a summary, what are your keys to alignment? What are we looking for? Why human design? How will this help? Sorry, excuse me one moment. So number 1, your energy centers. Have a look at how your energy centers work. How do they work together? What's defined? What's undefined? And what does that mean for you? What are your natural gifts? Look at the incarnation cross. So the incarnation cross is made up of the first 2 gates here and the second 2 gates here. What is the story of your life? What are you here to do? Are you here to teach us about self-love? Are you here to bring value to the collective? Are you here to push the boundaries? So when you're looking at careers and businesses and jobs, your incarnation cross can give us a really big insight into what you're most aligned to do. And then finally, your profile. So you can see this is my profile here. I've a 6 and a 2. So I'm a 6-2 profile. So the 6-2 tells us how I'm going to play out my incarnation cross, how I'm going to act out, if you like, the story of my life, how I'm going to play that. And for me, I'm playing it as a role model and the hermit. So both of those. So those are the three things that can give you a real key to alignment and embodying who you actually are. And that leads us to the emergence of you, which is why we're here today. So the emergence of you converges where your energy, your life story, or your incarnation cross, and your primary role or your profile meet. This is where, if you want to get into the deeper layers of human design, it's where you'll find who you actually are, the emergence of you. And then that will give you a big clue and a big kind of boost of confidence as to what direction to go in and why you're aligned for certain directions. And that is human design in a nutshell. Loretta, do you have any questions that I can answer for anybody?
Hi, thanks, Becca. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Thanks so much for all that valuable insight. Anyone got any questions? Or if you have got questions, we can always, I can always give them your links.
Sure.
Yeah, how did you all feel about that? Interesting? Yes, because this is all new insight, Becca, as you know. As I know as well. So,
yeah, it's a lot of information as well to take in. I'm afraid I've gone over as well, but to take in 40 minutes, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, but if anybody wants to access their site, their chart, they can access it and then contact you via Instagram. What's the best way?
Yeah, just on Instagram. Just if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to DM me, Becca by Human Design, and I could talk about it all day. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Oh, thank you so much, Becca. We're about to have a break and have a drink now.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. So we really do appreciate you being here. I'm so grateful that our paths crossed. So
no
thank
problem.
you so much.
Okay, bye everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.